Hi everyone, welcome back. This month, the foot of the month for Bernina is the Bernina Ruffler foot. Now the Bernina Ruffler foot, is a foot that can be used on all Berninas by just changing the stub foot here. So this stub foot is for this machine, and it's the V version because it's got the V cut out and it's got a flat piece at the front. If I want to put this on my older Bernina, I would buy the stub foot that has the two prongs at the front. There's one more thing you need to consider. The stub feet come in two lengths, a short and a long, so you do need to talk to your Bernina dealer about which stub foot you get for which machine. So when you're buying a foot like this, you must tell your Bernina dealer what model of machine you've got. It's really important so they get you the right height stub foot to go with your ruffler. Now the beauty of then owning a stub foot is then you can add other generic feet. So this one is actually put out by Bernina, and it is for doing my bindings. Had to think about that for a minute. And so I can add this stub foot to this foot, but this foot is bought out by someone else, and this is my wonderful flower foot, and it has a provision here to put a stub foot on, and I know when I put that stub foot on I can make these amazing flowers with this foot. So you can buy other brands of feet that will allow you to put them on your Bernina, but you do need the correct stub foot. So today I'm going to use the Ruffler. If we get time I'll show you that, but we could put that in another video, and that one there as well. So I'm going to use my new Bernina 790 Pro, and I've got the right stub foot for the machine. But first of all I want to talk to you a little bit about the walking foot. So I've got the walking foot on, which is number 50 foot, and I've just been quilting up some fabric. With the walking foot, it's going to feed my top and bottom layer of my fabric evenly with my wadding in the middle. So you can see here I've done quilting, and I've purposefully not done it even because I think it's a little bit more interesting, and there is no movement. So it hasn't crept or done anything weird, but I use my magic spray. So this is your 505 adhesive spray, and I simply spray my wadding, put my fabric on top, turn it over, spray my wadding, put my fabric on the back, and I don't have to pin. So I've done a whole baby mat here, and I've just done that one in squares, kept it very simple. And I've used the Ruffler to make a ruffle on that, which I'm going to show you, and that was all fused on, and stuck on, and I didn't need to do any basting or pinning or anything. I just quilted it. So this one here is just going to be a little baby quilt, like for a doll, by the way, and what I've done is I've used a quilting stitch in my quilting stitches number 1317. So instead of doing them all even, I've done them different widths, and then when I've come and crossed hatch across, you can see here I've done them differently as well, and it just gives a little bit more interest. So you could do this on any quilt, but I just thought it was fun to show you. And all I did was I used the markings on my machine. So I want to do another run here, and I'm pretty much going to have to go all the way over to here, so I'm going to go to about halfway there. So I'm just going to run this down and just do my last row, and it's basically there. I could use my quilting guide, but I just want this one to be a little bit of fun. So I wasn't doing any markings at all. It was just a fun little quilt to make, because it's going to be for a doll's bed. And when I get to the end, just cut that off. And the next row, all I did was I put the foot beside it. So I just ran the foot beside it, and then I got a fun little finish. So that was all I did, but it's just really lovely. It's just a really nice stitch because it's a nice wavy stitch and it's got movement. but I just wanted to show you that looks quite cute. A little bit of the pink thread there. So I will cut this off here now to match there, and that will just make a little doll's blanket. Right, now on to what we're actually going to do, but I just thought I'd do that while I had that on my machine. So now this is the foot. Now it has this little bar here that needs to go over your needle bar, just like the walking foot that needs to go over your needle bar. Okay, so same thing, this part needs to go over the needle bar. Now on the foot, you've got markings, you've got 0, 12, 6 and 1. What they mean is number 1 will do every single ruffle, every tuck will be a ruffle. Number 6 means every 6th stitch will be a ruffle, and 12 means every 12th stitch will be a ruffle. Now the ruffle on this is actually a proper tuck, all right? So I'm going to go to every 6 to start off with. Now how close those tucks will be is determined by your stitch length. So there's lots of variables with this foot. It's very, very good. So over the needle bar and then up under your foot. And please tell your machine you've got the right foot on, and make sure you put it back to straight stitching. So this foot is number 86. And it shows the picture and it shows the ruffler, and then you know you've got the right foot on. Make sure your needle position is in the center. Clear it if you need to, because otherwise you will smash your needle into the plate. Now the next thing you need to know about this foot, I'll just get something so I can bigger to show you. It has 2 plates, and you simply slide your fabric between the 2 plates, and that's what will make the tuck. Now the next thing you need to know is it has different depths of tucks. I leave it on the fullest tuck. I don't think anything less than that is enough. So I can use fabric, I can use laces, I can use braids and tuck them up. Now what I've done for this one here is I have double folded it. So what I did was I got a fabric, and these are the beautiful muslins, and I simply, I'll just look where my thing is, I simply folded in half. That's why I had the walking foot on. I folded it in half and I straight stitched it first so that it held the layers of fabrics together. So hence why I had the walking foot on. So I'm now going to tell my machine I've put back on the walking foot number 50. You could have just used your jewel feed for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my fabric on, but I'm moving my needle position all the way to the right so that I'm stitching on the edge of the fabric. So I'm simply going to stitch on the edge of the fabric and hold my fabric together, and I can lengthen it out because it's just a holding stitch, so that my 2 layers of this very, very, very soft fabric are not going to move. And I like to, actually I could have done that with this foot, come to think of it, because it's got a 0. Which means I could have straight stitched with it. I didn't think of that, and I could have put the needle, I could have left the needle position in the center, but just done it on 0. So I never thought about that one. So just stitch down. Now when you've got a join, we'll come down to the join. Raw edges together. The join is down here. When you've got a join, these are the raw edges of the join. Just open them out and fold them. I'll just pop a pin in there. I don't really want to go pressing this because this is a beautiful double muslin and it's got its natural creases. So I don't want to go pressing those out. All the wrinkles will go. So I've just pinned it. And when I get to the joint, I just simply keep sewing over it. So I'll just go past that joint and then I'll show you how we're going to ruffle it. So you see you can do a wide or a narrow, whatever you like. But it's beautiful out of the muslin because it's just so soft. So I use the muslin for making clothes, quilts, face wipes. Now, as women, when we use our flannels and we're going to wash our face, we mark our flannels because the makeup goes onto our flannels. So why not get this beautiful muslin, and you can buy them in lovely colours, but buy a makeup looking colour and simply put two pieces together, and I've rolled edged around it, and you've made reusable face cloths for taking off your makeup. You know they're your makeup ones because of the colour, and then you won't stain your flannels. And the flannels are too thick and heavy anyway. These are much nicer for face cloths. So I simply roll edge them on the overlocker, and that's how I finish them, and it's nice and easy. If you don't want to use the overlocker, you could put right sides to right side, sew them through, top stitch them, but I like that finish. Have we gone past the join? Oh, I've gone past the join, there we are. Didn't even know. So there's the join there. It's a nice soft join because I've opened out my seams, and you can just trim off those tails, and now you're ready to ruffle it. Okay, so this one off. Remember, tell your machine what foot you've got on. If you can't do that with your machine, make sure you go to straight stitch and centre needle position. So I'm telling it I've got 86 foot on, and I'm clearing it because my stitch length was long. And I think for this one I'll have it on every 6 stitch. And I'm going to slide my fabric between my 2 bars and centre needle position, told at my foot, but I'll lengthen it to about 3 because I don't want it really close. Now watch what happens as you sew it. It's going to sew along, and every 6th stitch it's going to do a tuck. It's wonderful if you want to go around curves because it naturally just curves. And what I'm doing, if you can't see, is I'm going to actually put my laser on there, which is really good. I am sewing in the row of stitches I've previously done, and now with my laser on I can see exactly where that is. So I'm looking at my needle and the laser is shining, and I can see exactly where I'm sewing on that same row of stitching. So every 6th stitch. So if I lengthen it out, they'll be further away. If I bring it closer, they'll be closer together. So I'm just going to show you past this join, which I never way down here, rightio. I'll speed it up a bit. Well, that's as fast as it lets me go. So that's interesting. So that's a good thing because you can't go too fast. You definitely want to make sure you've got fabric to the right. There we go, past the join. And I'll just cut that there because that's all I want to show you on that one. And wait till it's lifted up. So there you can see the beautiful edging, and you can see how easy it would be to do a circle because of the natural way that it goes. Now if I want to do that's a long tail, if I want to do a lace, I can do exactly the same thing. However, with a lace like this, what I would do is I would trim off this little scallop. So I've got a nice straight edge to start with because it's going inside the foot and there's not a big area. So just trim off any little peaks just so they don't get in your road, because you might not be able to fit them in that little space because there's not a big area to put your braid in. Okay, I just ended up wearing that. So now I'm putting, now make sure you know the right side up, that's the right side. Slide it between the 2 pieces with your foot lifted up. Sit your lace where you're going to stitch it, and also if you want to, you could move it over, and there's a little bar here, and you could slide your lace in here to guide it. But I want to take in a slightly bigger bite, so I'm going to go further in like that. Now this time I'm going to do every first, just to freak you out. So I'm going to do every first tuck, and I'll leave it on, it's on 2.9, on 3 length. So now, you definitely want to go slow. I don't often use every first, but I have been known to use it when I'm doing fine cotton lawn. But look how incredible that is. You can make a flower. Isn't that amazing? Actually, that's really quite pretty. I could definitely make that into a flower. So that's every first tuck. So it doesn't have to be fabric, it can be lace. So if I'm going to go around my baby blanket, this particular lace, this is the right side, this is going to go onto the baby blanket, but every first would be too much, so I'll go back to every 6th and I'll slide this in, and then I'll show you every 12th, which is, I've never really used it. I think I'd like that a bit closer, so I'm going to bring my stitch length a bit closer. So I'm going to take that out, and I'm just going to, my unpicker is not in the right place, shame. I normally have my unpicker in there. I'm just going to unpick that and put it a bit closer, because I think I'd like it a bit closer, and you really only need to undo that little tuck there. Pull that out, and one more stitch here, because the rest will just flatten it out and I'll just re-sew over it. So I think I'd like it a little bit closer together, and I can leave those in there, that's absolutely fine. There we are. So bring my thread over, slide my lace through, and I'm going to go down to say 2.10. Now it's going to be closer, but it will still be every 6th. And I'll just cut those threads so they don't get in my road. And you'll see the difference. Oh, I've got a thread caught. Just maybe hold that down so you can see. That's nice. Just a little bit closer. Nice and slow. It's really good that it doesn't let you go too fast anyway. You might get carried away. So don't think you have to use just fabric. You can buy pre-made lace, ungathered, and then you can tuck it instead of gathering it. And then I'm going to put back on the walking foot and show you how to stitch it on and do a corner. Very clever. When you buy these, you do get a spare piece of wire just in case it stops tucking. I have never ever needed to replace one, but you do get it in your box. Now I'll just do one demo of every 12th ruffle, but there is my every 6th, but it's closer together, so you can see it's quite different. Okay, now every 12th ruffle, so this piece of fabric I have rolled edged on the overlocker, so this one will not be a double fold, it will be a single fold. So if I want to do this, slide that in, and I'll leave it on the 2.10, but I'll do every 12th. So now I'm only going to get a tuck every 12 stitches. That's a lot of stitching. So if I lengthen it out to my normal 3 that I normally use, you can see it's kind of not worth it, because it doesn't really, I'll just do a bit more. It doesn't really do it for me. So on this particular fabric, if I was going to do it singly like this with a rolled edge, I'd do every first because I think it would look so much nicer. I definitely wouldn't do every 6th or every 12th. That's what I would do on a soft fabric like this if I wanted a really full-on ruffle. And that's what I would do. So this is extremely soft. It's got a beautiful roll edge, and I've actually used a variegated thread, which I've put somewhere safe. You can't really see it, but it's just soft pink, lemon, blue and yellow. Pink, lemon and blue and yellow. No, lemon, blue and pink. And it's really, really nice. But yeah, every 12th is definitely too far away. It just doesn't really make an impact. Okay? Right, so that is how you use your wonderful ruffler. Now, when you're going to put it onto a garment or a quilt or something like that, you have two choices. You can either just quilt the top layer with wadding and then put the ruffle on and back it, or you can do what I'm going to do on this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch the ruffle on, and then on the back I'll just put a little binding of the self fabric. So back to my walking foot, or you can use your jewel feed. You get a lot of fluff from these fabrics, so just make sure you do clean your walking foot as well, because they do make an awful lot of fluff. And with a walking foot, this particular one hasn't got the open toe, so when I put it on my machine, I can put my needle up, pull my thread down first, then put my walking foot on so my thread's underneath, if you want to. Right, so here's my little baby quilt. I'm going to trim that bit off, so I'll just start here. I'll do that later. And I make sure I've got my right side to right side down. And when I start, I just simply take out my first tuck. Oop, don't cut the fabric. Take out my first tuck and I go 1, 2, and I tidy that up later. I just hand stitch that. And then I start here. I just want to show you a corner. Remember, tell your machine you've got the foot on number 50. If you don't know the number of your feet, if you get the little app on your phone, and it will tell you the number of the feet, and then you'll remember them. So needle position to the right, and it's on 3 length. I can leave it on that. And what you do is you just stitch down first, reverse. I do leave my walking foot on for a lot of jobs. And come down to the corner. So I don't like to pin when I'm doing this work. I just like to hold my raw edges together. And when I'm coming down to my corner, what I like to do is, I'm actually going to take it out to show you because it's going to be far too hard for you to see. So I'm going to show you here. What I like to do is, obviously I want this to go around the corner, but you want to allow some fabric. So I put my finger about 1 centimetre away and I just do a hand tuck of 2 ruffles, and I'll put a clip on there like that. So I keep sewing around, and what I've done is I've made an allowance of fabric so it'll go nicely evenly like that. So if you have a look on this one, I've done 2 tucks, and when I fold it out, it's nice and evenly and it curves around the corner. So that's what I like to do when I'm doing a ruffle like this, because it just gives you a bit more ease and you get a nice finish on your corners, because you don't want to be stingy with your ruffle. You've got plenty of ruffles, so you just allow it to go around the corners and you'll get a much nicer finish. And it's just a learned thing. You just get a couple of your tucks and ruffle it in. There is no science to it. So when I come to here, I put my needle down, I turn it my 45 degrees, and I do a couple of stitches, then I turn it and then I keep sewing and I push my ruffle out of the way because it's very easy to pick up that tuck. So you've got to really be careful on those corners. I'll show you one more. So just come down and always make sure you've got everything nice and flat so you don't get extra tucks. Not that anyone would see them. Come down. If you're going to be making this for an actual baby's quilt, I don't put the ruffle at the top, obviously. One edge is left flat and the ruffle just goes down the three sides because you don't want to ruffle up on the baby's neck. But this is just a little changing mat, so that's just going to be for the ground. It's not going to be on a bed. Just a nice soft little mat for when you go to friends' houses and they might have animals and you don't want to lie your baby down to change them. You're always going to take your own changing mat. You only need something little, and it's very light and soft, so it's good for travelling as well. So I'm just going to pick up another tuck. I just do it as I'm sewing, put the rest of it out of the road, and just allow for my corners, and just bring it in and hold it. I don't even bother clipping it. So when I get down to the corner, remember, I stop, I turn it on a 45-degree angle, I do a couple of stitches, and then I turn and I get my fabric out of the road, my excess lace out of the road or fabric. And that is how I do my corners. I'll just go to here because I've got to trim that off and add more lace anyway. It was just to show you how to do that. I can see a tuck happening there, so I'll pull it out before it happens. There we are. Done. So to finish this one off as per the quilt, I'm just going to bind those edges, and you've got a beautiful corner. I'll just put a pin in there to show you, and it will just sit back, and then I'll just top stitch around that edge. So very, very pretty little corner and a very, very pretty lace. So a little girl will be happy to have that as a little blanket for her dolly. Cute. So yeah, you can add your lace or ruffles to cushions. But this year, if you go into all the designer stores, you'll see that there is ruffle on all the garments. So you can just self-ruffle it with your fabric, and you can add it down the front of your garment or on the hem of your garment or anything, but ruffling is amazing. Now, see how I've clean finished this edge? If I wanted to, I could also roll edge and clean finish this edge, and this could be top stitched on instead of that being raw. So both sides could be rolled edged, and then when I ruffle it, this is finished off and it could go straight onto a garment. So there is the how to use your ruffler. And I hope you have fun with them, because you can do an awful lot of beautiful things. I don't think you'd be doing many things for your husband out of the ruffler, but for all your craft items and pretty little girly things, they are really, really beautiful. You can also ruffle on the hem of curtains just for a feature. So yeah, the sky's the limit really. So have a go. Remember, it's foot number 86, and this month they have 20% off the feet. So it's a perfect time to be buying them. And when you're going to be doing them on the older machine, which I'll do a video on it on my older machine, you need the old style stub foot with the 2 prongs. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed watching that. And I will also do the flower foot for you using that same stub foot as well in my next video.